Good morning, Year 1, and welcome to Day 4's poetry lesson. So today you can have a go at writing your poem, but before we do that, we're going to have a recap on the various poetry features, and even before that, we're going to have a go at your grammar, checking what you can remember about exclamation marks. So go and get your whiteboards and whiteboard pens, and as soon as you're ready, we'll get started. Okay, Year 1, here's your challenge. Try to explain to your grown-ups what exclamation marks look like. You can draw them, and how they're used and where they appear in a sentence. So grown-ups, pause the video until you've got the answers, and then we'll go on. Okay, so exclamation marks is used when you're trying to make a point in speech. It's when you're shouting, so it's for emphasis. An exclamation mark goes at the end of a sentence, and an exclamation mark looks like this, a line with a dot underneath. Brilliant, Year 1. Are you now ready to have a go at using some of them? So the robot wants to know which of these need an exclamation mark. So here's your set. Here are the phrases. Amazing! What a goal! Where are you going? You look fabulous. And I am over here. So the 3 pieces of punctuation you can use today are exclamation marks, question marks, and full stops. And what the robots would like you to do is write out each of the phrases, adding the correct punctuation. So grown-ups, pause the video until you're ready to go on. Wow, that's brilliant work, Year 1. Let's see if you agree with the robots. So your first one, amazing. Well, that needs an exclamation mark because that's amazing work you've done there. What a goal! If you've been playing in the garden, maybe you have scored a goal. And that also is an exclamation mark. Where are you going? Well, that's a question. So it needs a question mark. And that reveals the full stop. So one of these last two is going to need a full stop. You look fabulous. Exclamation mark. And then the last one, I'm over here. I am over here. Now, it could be an exclamation mark, but the chances are you're more likely to say, I'm over here, if you were using an exclamation mark. So well done, Year 1. And now we're going to go back to looking at how you're going to write that poem. Okay, so before we have a quick recap on the different features of poems, here's the challenge for the day. You're going to use the rhyming pairs of words that you chose yesterday and the words you want to repeat to have a go at writing your own poem. It's often a good idea to include the words you're repeating on each line or on every other line. You can use the layout you chose yesterday. That might be with stanzas, or it could be one long poem. Now, if you could, film yourself reading the poem or take a photo of the poem when it's finished. That would be brilliant. And then send them to the home learners at stveronicas.langs.sch.uk, because that's how the robots are seeing your work at the moment, although they do have plans to get a robot email for after Easter. Okay, so let's have a look now at the different features of poems. Okay, so in this poem, we're going to have a look at repeated words or sounds today. So you have a read through it with your grown-up and write down any of the repeated words. And when you've done that, I'm going to go through in just a second. So pause the video till you're ready to continue. Okay, so there's 2 main repetitions here. The first one is I. I'm a little robot, I feel great. When I touch my leg, I walk real straight. When I touch my shoulder, I spin around. And when I touch my nose, I sit on the ground. Now, going with that is my. So I'm going to keep that in the same colour because the 2 things are linked. They're both pronouns of yourself. Okay? And then the other repetition, where you probably guessed it, is just one. It's in the title, and then it's repeated in the first line, and that's robot. So most of the repetition here is I. Okay? So now we're going to have a look at the next poem. This one's about layout. So have a read through the poem and try to work out how it's laid out, how many verses it's got, and if you want to be really clever, say what each verse is about. Welcome back. So there are 3 verses here, 3 stanzas. The first stanza is here. Second stanza. And third stanza. Now, to be fair, the verses are about lots of different things, but really it's about a 3-part story. So the first part is the introduction. Yeah? Let's just read it and see if that makes sense. You're introducing. My robot must rate as my favourite toy, a wonderful, whirring, mechanical joy. My robot can talk, but he'd much rather sing or go to the park and play on the swing. So that's introducing the robot and some of the things he can do. My robot is still silver and very astute. For instance, this week he's learning the flute. My robot's adept at a number of tests, like doing my homework or folding my vests. So that's some of the skills the robot's got, and that's the main part, showing how clever he is. And then this last bit is how you can use the robot. It's also the ending, it's a conclusion. So my robot tells jokes that will tickle your size or spin a good story and much more besides. And with a small spanner I always keep Sandy. I unbolt his head to store all my candy. So it's the ending, and it's also what the poet can do with it. But the important thing there is the fact that you've recognized that there are 1, 2, 3 stanzas. Brilliant, year 1. And now we're going to have a look at the third poem and see if you can remember what we're looking for there. Okay, in this poem we're looking for rhyming words and patterns. Okay, so have a read through and write down all the rhyming words. And when you're ready, start the video again. So the rhyming words this time. I'm a robot inventor, old and bent. I bang this metal and make a dent. I'd like to rest, but it's nearly done. Here's my robot. What a super one. So these are rhyming couplets and they come at the end of each line. They're pairs of rhyming words. We're his robots, tall and strong. So where do you think the next one's going to come? We'll follow his instructions all day long. We'd like to help you learn and play. If you'll have us, we're here to stay. So those are ideas of the different ways that you could write a poem. So back to the recap. What you're going to do is use either rhyming pairs of words you've chosen yesterday, and the words you want to repeat to have a go at writing your poem. Try to include your repeating words in every line or every other line. And use the layout you chose yesterday. Will it have stanzas or verses, or will it be one long poem? If you want to draw a picture or cut the picture that you drew yesterday to stick beside it, that would be fabulous. And if at all possible, can you find a way to send it into school? If you can't, don't worry about it. The robots are very good at seeing things even when they're not transmitted. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I can't wait, and nor can the robots, to find out how brilliant your poems are going to be.